Today's episode of the Outline Podcast is brought to you by Grammarly. I talk about Grammarly all the time because I am an actual avid user of the service. Whether you're writing a Facebook status message or a dissertation, it is the right software for you. It edits in real time, it monitors your word usage, your punctuation, all that good grammar stuff that you forgot about from college and high school. It is there to help you be a better writer before you put it out into the world. To try it today, go to www.getgrammarly.com/outlinepod. Once again, that's getgrammarly.com/outlinepod. Today's episode is also brought to you by Audible. Listening to books is the new wave. If you listen to podcasts, you can listen to books and tell people you read them. Audible is offering one free audiobook and 30 days to listen to the listeners of the Outline Podcast. You can redeem this by going to www.audibletrial.com/outlinepod. That's audibletrial.com/outlinepod. Let's start the show.
Yeah, the Outline with Kevin Dwayne, Kevin Dwayne. Yeah, the Outline, with Kevin Dwayne. The Outline, with Kevin Dwayne. This is the Outline with Kevin Dwayne. Kevin Dwayne with Kevin Dwayne.
Yo, happy Wednesday. This is the Outline Podcast. I went out last night and I'm actually okay today. I'm like, damn, what am I, 22? Because, once you hit a certain age, like going out during the week and also waking up and still being a coherent human is hard for some people. Now, me, not too bad. Like, I'm pretty energetic in mornings anyway. I'm a morning person. I wake up early to work out, run, masturbate, whatever. I like doing things in the morning. So it's not that big a deal, but getting me out the house during the week is a stretch because, one, most people want to do things in the city and I'm outside of the city. I am OTP, which is outside of the perimeter of Atlanta. So it's a process to say, after work, let me get dressed and then head into the city if there's traffic or whatever else. So a lot of times it's going to be a no. But yesterday, I got off work. I started making my dinner. I made red potatoes and peppers. That shit was good as fuck, but whatever. I was making my dinner, and then my friend Brandon called me and was like, hey, I know it's last minute, but do you want to maybe get out and go to Apache with me tonight? And I was just like, you know what? Yeah, let's do that. What time are you going? He's like, oh, like 8:30. I'm like, cool, that's fine. I'm like, I'm cooking now. That gives me enough time to eat, shower, and then get to you or whatever. He was like, okay, dope. And I was laughing because he sounded like he was surprised that I said yes, which I think I am good for exercising my nose. Like, in the last couple of years, I've had no problem just being like, no, that's all right. I just want to stay home. Because you got to practice saying no. If you don't want to do something, don't do it. There's nothing worse than being somewhere that you don't want to be, giving off a negative energy because you don't want to be there. So if you don't want to go somewhere, say no. Stay home. And I'm good for being like, yeah, no, I just got off of work. I'm going to eat. I'm going to chill. I'm going to watch Living Single for the second time through because I binge watched the entire season last week and I'm doing it again because that show was everything. But I said I was going to go. So, like clockwork, and I appreciate Brandon for this. Brandon, if you listen to this episode next year, because I know you're behind, I appreciate that you're always prompt. Like you are a punctual person. And me being a punctual person, I appreciate that because I get tired of waiting on niggas. I have most of my friends, work on their own time slots and, they own up to the shit, but I'm punctual and I just get tired of waiting for niggas. It's annoying. It's like if we have a time set, that's the time you should fucking be there. And there's just, I don't know. Thank you, Brandon, for being on time. I appreciate that. So like clockwork, I met at his place. It was like 8:15 or something like that. He stays in Midtown. And we went to Apache. Apache, they have open mic night on Tuesdays. They have open mic nights all the time, though. Apache is one of those places, if you go to their website, they have a calendar full of events every month. It seems like every night of the week, there's something going on there for the creative. If you're interested in music, if you're interested in acting, photography, they have power shoots there. Poetry. They have so many different things that go on there, and I think it's pretty dope for the Black Creative Collective. So Tuesday was open mic night. We showed up. It was like $7 to get in. We went and sat down in spite of having to pay for a table, but I guess because it wasn't like a full house, no one really questioned us. We went to the back and sat at a table like niggas. And had a couple Moscow Mules and waited for the show to start. So had some dope poets there, had some decent singers, had some rappers. Rappers are always interesting to me, especially at poetry spots, because sometimes it switches up the vibe depending on what your content is. Poetry is about, manifestation and love and being your higher self, and then someone starts rapping about being in a trap and flipping money. It's like, okay, you done fuck up the whole vibe, but whatever. It's an open mic. You're welcome to perform. Do your thing. But I think one of the highlights of the night was this guy named King Malachi. He's a part of the Dungeon family. That's what they said, at least. I don't know. He could be. You guys let me know. People who are into the Dungeon family, linked to Big Boy and Outkast and all that shit. But apparently he's a part of it. And he got mad love when he was there. So there's definitely a name that he has for himself. So he got on the stage and, he's doing his thing. And what I found interesting was he was mad talented. And he was making these sounds and then creating these beats, but then also rapping and singing. And then he also had like his crew there. So they were in the back where we were. And out of nowhere, one dude just goes, bop, 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 bop. And then everyone just gets lit as fuck. And so everyone in the back just starts dancing and making sounds. The waitress who was serving us and everyone else hopped on a little platform, and then she started dancing to this little like groove or whatever, and everyone just kind of went ham, and it was dope as fuck. And then one dude who did poetry earlier that night, he stopped peddling his CDs. That's another thing. Who the fuck is buying CDs? Like, I support the arts, but I'm gonna need y'all to get me that iTunes link, that Spotify link, Google Play, wherever music is sold online. Y'all can't be peddling these CDs because we don't have anywhere to play the bitches. We don't have CD players. We don't have them. Stop that shit. But that's besides the point. He stopped selling his CDs and just where he was just started bucking. Like, he's jumping up and down. He jumped so hard that his fucking phone, everything in his pockets just fly out. And he doesn't stop to pick them up. He just keeps going until the song is over with all his shit on the floor. I'm like, man. And it was super lit. I told Brandon, I imagine that's what going to an HBCU is like, because every time I see videos of them, they're always lit. And I love just the community of Apache Cafe yesterday. Like, the show started off with the host telling us to hug like 4 people, I guess, to kind of transfer the whole energy. And it was dope because it did create this vibe, this whole movement. And it was a good time. It was a nice little step out. But that shit had me, I'm still over here. Bop, 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 bop. That shit was hilarious. Like, so hilarious. But King Malachi, super dope. Like, he was super talented. Like, he was on his own kind of lane, wavelength, and it was entertaining as fuck. He obviously has connections with the people at Apache Cafe because they were changing the lights behind him and shit. I was like, this is like a goddamn Tyler Perry opening for a movie. Like, what the fuck? How does he have cinematics at a poetry spot? But whatever. It was dope as fuck though. He was super dope. So we did that, and then after we decided to run by Dugan's, because Dugan's on Tuesdays is, is the lit spot to go to. I always think to go, but I'm like, I don't feel like driving over there. I don't feel like looking for parking and doing all this shit. But Brandon, who had never been, was like, okay, we can run through there real quick. It's no problem. It's also great that he's a cop, so finding parking is a little bit easier, and maneuvering is a lot easier too. So we went to Dugan's. Got there, walked in. There was a fight maybe within 5 minutes of us being there. We stayed another 7-8 minutes and then we bounced. Like, it was a quick in and out, just kind of see how it was. It was full per usual. There were people outside on the patio. There were people wall to wall inside. Same standard fare. A ratchet good time, I saw a couple people who stay in my DMs a little too often, try to avoid making eye contact with them. One guy asked me if he serviced my Mercedes last week. I'm like, yeah, no, I don't have a Mercedes. And I also don't really leave my house during the week. So that's definitely not me. So yeah, no. So we did that, and then I came back home, and it was nice to get out on a Tuesday. I always tell myself, like, I need to get out more during the week. It breaks the week up. It really changes the game. And I think one thing I miss is doing the Champagne Wednesdays with Elliot and Raven, because it gives you something to do midweek, and it changes your whole mood up. You shouldn't have to wait till the weekend to have a good time. So that was fun. Did that last night, and here we are. So this is one of those weeks on the podcast where searching for content wasn't hard at all. Like, excuse me. It was easy as fuck to find content this week. Number one, gonna jump right in with Monique. So this is what I've gathered from the entire Monique ordeal. She I guess, proposed a special to Netflix. That's what allegedly would happen, according to Industry on Blast and other sources. Her and her husband proposed her doing a special for Netflix. Cool. Netflix asked her to audition. She felt like I have an Oscar, I have Golden Globe, I have all these awards. Why am I auditioning? And when you didn't make Chappelle or Chris Rock or Amy Schumer, all these other people didn't have to audition. Why am I auditioning? So that was number one. Then they offered her $500,000. Then it became okay, why am I being offered this when you have Chappelle, Chris Rock, and all these other people making millions? I mean, 50 million, like millions, and I'm making $500K. So that was number one. Monique put a video up, an overzealous video, saying, hey, my people, I need y'all to boycott Netflix because this is how they're treating me as a black woman. They're offering me $500K when all these other people are making hella money, and I've paid my dues. Cool. Now, Netflix, according to Industry on Blast, like I said, I'll take that with a grain of salt, but a lot of their stories end up being true, but we'll take it with a grain of salt. They're saying that people at Netflix actually said she could make up to $3 million, even though that's still a quarter, not even a quarter of what her counterparts are making, her male counterparts, and Amy Schumer, it's still in the millions, so it's a little bit more money. So they're saying, no, $3 million was actually on the table, not $500K. That was just a beginning payment. But $3 million was on the table. That's alleged, whatever. So they came back and said that. So she's saying boycott them because it's just not right, which if they offered her $500K, it isn't right. That is trash compared to everyone else. So that was number one. So the black community in general decides to align themselves with Netflix and be like, oh no, fuck Monique, you trash for that, sis. Like, sit your ass down, take what you can get. You know, you ain't worth this, you ain't worth that. So this then moves into her doing interviews like it always does. Every time Monique does something controversial, she always does this kind of this tour where she kind of justifies her what she says and does. So she goes on I think Sway's show, something on XM radio, and then she then says she's the most decorated female comedian of all time or something like that. And so then that caused another uproar. People are like, oh no, Whoopi Goldberg has an EGOT, you don't have an EGOT, so no, you're not the most decorated, bitch, sit down, blah 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 blah. So I think that's it in a nutshell. This is my stance. I do believe that Monique gets ahead of herself when it comes to the things she says and her approach. And it's been this way since she's been with her husband, Sydney. Like, it literally, like, him as her manager has caused a lot of things, and a lot of industry insiders, which I've actually spoken to. And I'm not even that guy like that, but I've spoken to people who have been like, no, like, her husband has really caused a lot of problems. And that's why it's always interesting when people have their family manage them. It causes this weird rift. But he's caused a lot of issues, and the reason why she didn't do press junkets during the Oscars, like a decade ago, and why she isn't, why, like, people don't want to work with her husband, and they don't want to work with her. And so it's causing a lot of issues. So I do get that she's overzealous. She does say a lot of things that are off color. She does do a lot of things that damage her own career. I agree. I absolutely agree. How she handles things is wrong. But Monique is still one of us. She's still a black woman. And I don't feel we have the right to tell her what she's worth. I think she should get paid millions. I think she should get paid what she wants. I'm tired of people telling black women that they should just take what the fuck they can get, because it's so hypocritical. You guys don't complain when fucking athletes make millions of fucking dollars. When men get millions of dollars, you don't care. And I also am tired of black people moving the goalposts for women like Monique to make your perspective or make your stance stronger. For example, you'll say, every year we complain, Grammy season, Oscar season, oh, they're not nominating us enough. Oh, we're not winning enough awards. Oh, Oscars will set the person up so that they can have more opportunities and make more money. The Oscars, the Oscars, the Oscars. But then you have a woman here who has an Oscar, and you're telling her that her Oscar doesn't matter. You're like, oh, well, you've not done anything relevant in the last decade. You didn't work hard enough, so fuck your Oscar. You better take that $500K. Meanwhile, Dave Chappelle disappeared for a fucking decade. A fucking decade. He comes back, talks about trans people like a fucking dog, and gets millions and 4 episodes and all this money. It's like, how do we have these double standards? And I'm going to continue with this line. Right now, we're celebrating the fact that Mary J. Blige is nominated for 2 Oscars. I'm super excited too. That's dope. That's so dope. I'm so happy for her. But which one is it? Do they hold weight or not? So then you're telling Monique that her Oscar doesn't matter anymore because of respectability politics. Okay. People are telling Monique she's not respectable enough. Oh, well, you don't act right. You don't do this. You don't align to whiteness the way. You don't play the game you're supposed to. However, we celebrate Tiffany Haddish and Cardi B, who I fucking love. I love Tiffany Haddish and Cardi B because I don't get with respectability politics. I say, be who the fuck you are, and your fan base will follow you because it's who you are. You don't have to align to anybody's game plan. Fuck that. So I love them. But Cardi B and Tiffany Haddish are way left. Like way left. They drum to their own beat. They are who they are. They say what the fuck they want to say. They're not polished by people's respectability terms, but we celebrate them and we're excited for their come up. So how is Monique any fucking different? Like, these are weird ass standards that we have. And let's not pull in the colorism aspect. Just what, a week ago, not Tiffany, Tracy Ellis Ross, she said that she was going to back off of Blackish until they raised her damn salary. She's making like a quarter of what Anthony Anderson and Kenya Barris and people who are on the show are making, the men on the show. And so people were telling this light-skinned woman, like, get your money. Yeah, let these motherfuckers know they need to pay you. They need to pay you. But you're telling Monique, oh, you dumb bitch who has an Oscar, you dumb bitch, sit back, take what you can get. You stupid. You need to do it this way. How dare you? How dare you when you were just telling Tracy Ellis Ross to get her money by any means necessary? It's fucking double standards, y'all. Y'all hold different standards to men than you do to women, and then you use the whole colorism aspect, and then you move the goalpost to make it make sense to you. Yes, Monique could have a little bit more couth. Her approach could be different, but at the same time, you don't get to tell her what she's worth, because she is worth a lot because she's paid her dues. And not to mention, she has 57 wins in the awards period. Like all the awards, Golden Globes, Emmys, Images, all that shit. She has 57 awards. That does actually make her the most decorated Black female comedian. Now, she doesn't have an EGOT, which are the 4 special ones, but she's still the most awarded. So she actually meant that shit. Like, y'all are so... I get it. We get offended when people attack things that we love. Like, y'all did it with H&M. Like, oh my God, I love H&M. I love $4 flip-flops. Same shit, Netflix. But Netflix has all my entertainment. I can't go against this white corporation for this Black bitch. Like, that's how people are behaving. Now, like I said, what she did is lofty. No one's going to stop watching Netflix. She could go about things a different way. She is very overzealous and she can be very abrasive, but that's who she is. But who am I to fucking tell her what she's worth, especially when she's put in work? She's been awarded. Like, she doesn't have to be a certain way to get that. And I just feel like I'm not going to attack this woman just because we don't have the same viewpoints. And that's what I've seen a lot of. People are literally attacking her. Meanwhile, Bill Cosby is still doing comedy shows. R. Kelly is still selling out tours. Nate Parker is still making movies that you guys are going to see. Like, it's sexism, it's colorism, it's misogyny. And y'all don't want to admit that shit. But the vitriol y'all got going towards Monique is just not it. So I'm definitely team Monique on this one because she is a Black woman. She is still one of us. I may not agree with her tactics. She could go about them a different way, but I'm not going to tell that Black woman what she is worth and what she's not worth. And let me tell you something, $500K, she does deserve more than that because she's put in the fucking worth. And that is that. Next on the list, Ciara. Ciara reposted a video a couple days ago of a pastor talking about women being single and how they're not getting engaged because they're not acting like wives, they're acting like girlfriends, and they have to level up. And Ciara reposted this video. And I don't know what her intent was, but it seemed as though she was trying to encourage, but it fell onto a place of single shaming, which people do. Now, Ciara hasn't had a good time in the dating field, but who the fuck has? Like, none of us have. She has dated some trash ass dudes, and those are her decisions. Listen, she's had some trash ass dudes, and she lucked up on Russell, and Russell, he appears to be this great guy. She's married now. She's happy, and I'm happy for her. But here's my thing, and this is not, I'm going to actually remove Ciara from this equation now because what I'm tired of is canceling people. I feel like we've gotten in this habit, Black community, of canceling people. Every time they say something we don't like, get rid of them. go away. Now, we can be critical. We can call people to task. I get it. But canceling is just so late and it's crazy just because we don't agree. I'm going to now remove Sierra and Russell and all of them from the equation now because I needed to get you to where we are in the story. Here's my issue in general. It's not Sierra. It's people like Sierra. I'm tired of people who go through the struggle, like everyone else, of being single, and they know how hard it is, and they know what it takes, like the patience and how there's so many things that have to line up for you to meet the right guy or girl. They get in these relationships. They're not in them for long. Like, it'll be less than 5 years. But then all of a sudden, because they're married or they're in a relationship that they deem successful, they then feel like they're in this elite club. They feel like they are now worthy of telling other people, other single people, what they need to do to get in relationships, even though a lot of this shit is luck. It's fucking luck. You met a guy that's nice, cool. You're in love now, you're married, good for you, but you do not hold the fucking golden ticket or the relationship Bible of sorts to tell people what they're doing wrong. So that's the first issue I have with people who are like this. I know so many people who aren't celebrities. They hop in these relationships and then all of a sudden they're relationship coaches. And see, it's funny because when I was in my relationship a couple years ago, when we were together, people would actually ask us to like do videos and shit like, oh, can you say what you guys did? Can you do this? Can you do this? I was just like, no, we're not doing that. And I think we both agreed on that because what works for us may not work for everybody else. And we don't know how long this shit is going to last. What sense does it make for us to put these videos out about relationships and all this shit? And then if we break up, then all that shit cracked face. Everything cracked. Like, it looks stupid as fuck. Why do that? So I feel like to each its own. And I'm not saying I'm against relationship coaching, but have like some credentials with that shit. You know what I mean? Like be like a psychology professional, be like someone who actually has studied behaviors, studied relationships. Simply being in one relationship doesn't really give you the honor of telling other people what they should and should not do outside of just giving friendly advice. That's my opinion. That is solely my opinion because everyone's different. You can't tell people, you can say this is what we do in our relationship, but you can't say, oh, you're wrong because this is why you're not in one because you're not doing exactly this. No one can do that because humans are different. And so videos like that of the pastor and churches and stuff, this is where they get the shit wrong. They're always telling women like, oh, you need to behave this way. That's another fucking problem. Stop grooming women for marriage while you're letting men do whatever the fuck they want to do. You're literally telling men that, get money, get out there and grind, but you're teaching them nothing about love. Meanwhile, you're telling women to pretty much live in a way that supports the man's ego. Silence yourself, be quiet, do what he says, give him sex when he wanted, cook, clean, raise the kids, don't complain, and that'll make you a good wife. That's essentially what it says, and that's trash, man. Like, it needs to be equal. Tell these men what they should do, tell these women what they should do. Now, to be fair, the video that was posted by the person we're no longer mentioning, because it's not about her, it was a part of a longer sermon, and the pastor does talk to the men as well about being good husbands and, stuff like that. So I want to be fair and say that the longer video does include both. But it's not even about that. It's just stop hopping in relationships and then thinking that it gives you like the power to tell other people what they're doing wrong. You're not in an elite group. Like, it doesn't make you special because your relationship could end tomorrow. It could fall apart. It could be falling apart at that moment. And I know that people save face all the time. Like, a lot of successful relationships. And here's the thing. Y'all know me. I am here for polygamy. I'm here for monogamy. I'm here for whatever people want to do in their relationships. That's their business. But what I don't like are people who are lying to other people, selling dreams when their relationship is actually not that. For example, you have couples who promote monogamy Meanwhile, they're having an open relationship behind the scenes. So you're selling this dream that it can work, and you have these people thinking like, oh yeah, we can be just like them. Look, they've been together 16, 17 years. We can be just like them. The whole time they've been fucking other people. And that has worked for them, and that's completely fine. It still makes it a relationship, but they weren't honest with you all, but they're benefiting from you all because you're paying to go to their workshops, you're buying their products, you're taking their coaching classes, you're doing all this shit. Meanwhile, these niggas are in an open relationship and they're promoting monogamy. Like, shit like that drives me crazy because you never know what people are doing behind closed doors. So ultimately, I'm tired of motherfuckers hopping in relationships and then thinking that it makes them better than other people who are single. Also, marriage should not be a value point in your life. This goes to women, this goes to men, especially gay men. Like, being in a relationship should not be on your self-esteem and self-worth checkbox. You should never feel like because you're not in a relationship, you're less than. That's crazy. There's a whole world out there that you miss out a lot of times by being in a relationship because you're too busy looking at the world through someone else's eyes. Like, you haven't traveled, you haven't built yourself up, you haven't figured out what your standards are, you haven't figured out what you like and dislike. Like, there's a lot of life out there for the single person. There's a lot of value in life. Now, relationships are great. Companionship is great, but do not allow that to be a measure of your own worth. Like, you're fine how you are solo. So that's a problem. So we have to, like, people have to stop aspiring to marriage and thinking like, okay, now that I'm married, that deems me approved because somebody wants to deal with me for an extended period of time. Especially when a lot of time people are just holding their breath and just being patient. So that's where the mistake is. So I'm not even mad at the person who posted that. I'm not upset. It's the mindset, and it's driven by religion. It's driven by society. It's this idea that we all must aspire to marriage and family, and until then, you lack value. And so what happens is people hop in these relationships and then think like, okay, I have my value and my validation now. Let me tell you hoes what you're doing wrong now. Nah, because you lucked the fuck up. You lucked the fuck up on that. So I'm happy for you, but don't you dare shame me because I'm still single, and don't you dare try to make it seem like I need like. And that's why I'm going to this round table this weekend, and I'm interested on how it's going to be. It's about being relationship material, and I kind of side-eye the title of it, but I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go because this could be really good content, and it could also be really good. A really good conversation to see what other people are thinking, although I kind of got an idea. It's going to be with gay men, and they're going to talk about what it means to be relationship material. And this is what I predict. I already know someone's going to bring up body count. Someone's going to be like, well, you can't be a hoe out here. You know, I just want somebody who everybody ain't had. That's going to be said. The next one's probably going to be about masculinity because we love masculinity. Oh, well, you know, you can't be a queen either. I need you to be this. So I'm ready to hear those two for sure. I'm sure a bunch of insecurities are going to run rampant through the room. A lot of, well, I got to be able to trust you and phone sharing. And so that's why I side-eye it, because people have this idea, the idea of being relationship material already drives me crazy because it reduces you down to just that material. So I was like, but I'm going to go because I think it's going to be good content, and maybe I already know I'm going to be one of the people who are the contrarian of the group. As much as I hate contrarians, I'll probably be one because I like to dismantle people's weird ass views that they haven't actually thought through. Like, they haven't actually fleshed them out. They just say them because it sounds right and that's what they think they want. But you have to ask them questions like, why does that matter? Like, why does this matter? Why do you need this? Why is this important? Why does a person have to be this? So I am eager to see how it goes, but I definitely side-eyed it when I was asked about it. But I figured they asked me for a reason to come, so maybe that's what they want. Maybe they want me to flesh out people's ideas, but that's going to be interesting. But yeah, that's that. Moving on. And finally, and crazy shit that nigga said, Jay Holiday, I don't know if you guys remember him. He had a song, ooh, that was 2008, I want to say, called Bed. Wanna put you to bed, bed, bed. That was a jam, though. Bed, Suffocate, Be With Me. I think those are his 3 singles. Like, real talk, those are 3 singles that actually did something, enough to remember him. And he's kind of been out of the limelight ever since then. It's been a good decade. He's had albums out, but they've been indie efforts, but no one's really been checking for Jay Holiday in the last decade. So he recently took to his Instagram and he pretty much went on this rant in a video about having a daughter and then also being salty about losing to Mary J. Blige for an award. And then also he came for SZA, he came for Cardi B, and he came for Beyonce, which, what's wrong with you, dude? Have you not learned from anybody else? AKA Carrie Hilson, Keisha Cole. Like, you don't do that. You don't go for the biggest artists and expect to just be like, oh, people are gonna listen to you. But he said that he's tired, in a nutshell, I'm paraphrasing. He said he's tired of women using their pain. I laughed just saying this shit. He said he's tired of people. He's tired of women using their pain to sell records. And men go through shit too. That shit's disrespectful to men. And as a man, he goes through shit too. I don't even know where to start with this one, honestly. Number one, artists should be able to sing and write about whatever the fuck they want to write about. You don't get to tell artists what they can actually express on their fucking music. And if it sells, so be it. SZA can talk about her experience on The Weeknd. Beyonce can talk about, because he put hashtags in this too. It said like drinking watermelon and The Weeknd and something about foreign pussy or some shit. Like, he's like, oh, I have a daughter and this shit ain't cool, blah, blah. So number one, artists can sing about what the fuck they want to sing about. If it's popular, so be it. If people take to them, they take to them. If they get Grammys for it, they get Grammys for it. Like, that has nothing to fucking do with you, especially you, Mr. Suffocate. Talking about you couldn't breathe while being around somebody and put you to bed. Like, get out of here, man. That's number one. 2, your daughter is your fucking responsibility. I am so sick of people having kids and then all of a sudden wanting celebrities to raise their fucking kids. You are there to be their role model. You are there to show them right and wrong. You are there to guide them and keep them from consuming certain artists or whatever, especially as young children. And when they get a certain age, they're going to gravitate to wherever they gravitate to, and it's just that. It is not the fucking artist's responsibility to raise your fucking kids. I'm so sick of you niggas thinking celebrities are responsible for what your kids do and say. No, that's your shit. That's your shit. Yes, they're pushed into this idea of being role models, but there are other role models out there. Push them to Oprah, push them to Michelle Obama, push them to actual media moguls out there. Stop making it seem like celebrities are the only ones who have to raise your children. Get the fuck out of here with that. Stop that shit. And finally, as just a man, like, I'm so sick of you niggas always looking for a reason to take down black women or women in general. Niggas sing about pain too. Kanye West had a whole album, 808s and Heartbreak, Usher Confessions, like Anthony Hamilton, everything he sings is about being heartbroken. John Legend, what are you talking about? Black men sing about pain all the time. It's called R&B, nigga. It's R&B. Rhythm and motherfucking blues. Shut the fuck up. You're salty. You're salty and irrelevant and you're upset. Like, that's all there is to it. Like, I don't get men sometimes. Like, I don't get men, like, especially black men. I don't get their tone deaf views of how life works, like how you're able to blame black women for your plight, how you're able to look at gay men and say that they have an agenda against you, when in reality you were still the fucking majority of representation of black people. But you want to blame everybody else And that makes no fucking sense. Take responsibility for your shit. Get rid of that fucking trash ass ego. No one owes your ass anything. If it didn't pop off for you, it didn't fucking pop off for you. And that's just that. But for you to attack black women who are actually making money, and because people are gravitating towards them, who gives a fuck? Has it also occurred to you that, especially when it comes to black music, the majority of people actually buying R&B are women and gay people? So maybe that's why they're gravitating to the SZAs, the Cardi B's, and the Beyoncé's, and not the J Holidays, because we don't want to hear y'all talking about fucking girls all damn day. Think about it. Think about that shit. So why are you blaming the artists? Why are you blaming the artists? Like, I don't know. It was trash. That came. Someone sent it to me last night, and I was just like, oh, this is odd, but I don't know. It's an interesting divide. As a black man, it's tough for me because a lot of black men exhaust the fuck out of me, and I love y'all to death. Like, I love black men to death. But some of y'all views, man, the misogyny, it's too much. It's too much. Like, how y'all look at femininity, how y'all look at masculinity is too much. And I know that it's ingrained in a lot of us. And you got to fight against that shit. You got to fight against it. That shit's exhausting. I told Christina, I think just yesterday, I said, I'm tired of defending what I eat. I'm tired of defending how I identify. And I am tired of defending who I fuck. Like, it's exhausting. Let people live. Let people do their things. It's not always going to work out the way you want it to work out, but that doesn't give you any right to hop on some people's shit and be salty about it. Like, nah, nope, not going to do it. And yeah, that's that for what's been going on in social media. That's been kind of dominating. Honestly, I just been scrolling and seeing those 3 stories through my timeline. So that was an easy one. So this week, as a main discussion, is it really a discussion if it's just me on here? I always laugh when I'm making the content box for the podcast. I'm like, Kevin discusses. And I'm like, is it really a discussion though? It's just me talking to y'all niggas and y'all listening, shaking your head yes or no. But it's not really a discussion. But this week, the topic, rather. I was talking to Sensei Raven just yesterday. And we're talking about like friendship and people in general, like behavioral things. And I mentioned something about how we all carry these interesting chips on our shoulders and people are always having to navigate them and figure out what they are. He then replied and had this analogy about people having these landmines. And him saying landmines and what we're talking about really just... the light bulb came on. I told him, I said, you know what? I said, that's going to be this week's topic on the show. He was like, well, just make sure you shout me out. I was like, of course. Like, so shouting Raven out. So he had this idea of landmines, and then it made me start thinking deeper and how I could flesh that out. So the idea is this. When you meet certain people, we all have shit. We all have shit. Everyone, even the most. Jan Van Zant has shit. We all have triggers. We all have traumas that we've gone through. Big, small, whatever, medium, we all have them, and we are fleshing out, who we are and trying to maneuver with other people, relationships and friendships with that. And so we have triggers, but then on top of triggers, some of us have landmines, meaning a landmine is, I guess you can look it up for definition. A landmine is kind of like a covert, what they call an indiscriminate weapon. Like, you typically don't see it. You land on it and you blow the fuck up. Like, you can't see it. It's not like a gun. It's not like an actual grenade that you see. It's hidden. It's like a booby trap, except it blows your ass up. And people have them. So, for example, someone can have a chip on their shoulder. They can say they're sensitive about their weight, or they're sensitive about tone or something. You can be talking to them and say something that you meant no harm at, and they can literally blow up on you, like explode, like they want to fight you. It becomes very, very toxic and aggressive. That's what I would describe as a landmine. It's something that you don't know about, and you won't know about it until you hit it. Like, and because these people aren't going around telling people what their trigger points are, you know, because some people are like, you know what, yeah, I'm very sensitive about this. I prefer we don't talk about that. That's pretty much telling people what your triggers are or whatever. But a landmine is like literally you have to land on it and be like, oh, this is a point I probably should never cross again. And there's some people who have more than others. So that got me to thinking, like, do I have landmines? Of course I do. And it made me start thinking it's time that we as a people start disarming our landmines, especially when it comes to friendships, especially when it comes to dating. So I started, of course, doing a self-reflection because I feel like self-reflection is very, very, very important. You got to self-reflect, y'all. You have to always be taking inventory of self. You have to. And so I was like, okay, what are some landmines that I have? I realized that I could afford, when it comes to dating or when it comes to people pursuing me, I could afford to be a little bit, I think, nicer, and I hate this word so much, but maybe because it's a landmine for me, compromising. I realized that because of my own past relationships, my own personal baggage, not from individuals, but from just experiences, I used to be a guy who was very compromising because I wanted to please. So I would always do things for people who I guess didn't deserve them. And I would allow people to kind of use me up to the point where I would feel exhausted when they were done with me. Like they would leave me and I just felt like, damn, you used me. Like I feel like shit. So I reached a point where I said, fuck it. And I cut that shit off completely. And now I just say no. Like, no, I'm not doing that. What have you done to deserve it? Like, no, I'm not doing that. No, you're gonna do this. You're gonna do this. You're gonna, like, no, fuck that. Fuck you. You're not entitled to it. Like, you know what I mean? But my mindset was this. If a person shows me they're worthy, and what I mean by worthy, if a person reciprocates, if a person is giving, I'll give to them. If they do for me, I'll do for them. If they honor my time, I'll honor their time. If they respect me, I'll respect them. That was my way of evening the playing field. But I realized that over time, though, it's kind of shifted its balance to the point that it's not even at all. And it actually kind of ends up being me being very, not demanding, but very stern on not doing anything for a nigga, if that makes sense. So I can date someone, or not date someone, because I haven't really dated someone, but if I'm like smashing somebody, or we're smashing each other, and they're trying to get to know me more, I'll keep them on this kind of like, you gotta come to me. I'm not making you any food. I'm not doing you any favors because you haven't earned that right yet. And I'm like, okay, that's obviously something that I need to ease up on. I could afford to disarm that landmine of, it's not a wall anymore, it's a landmine. It's like I think I'm so afraid of being used and fucked over again that it makes me really, really mean, and it also makes me explode when niggas are entitled. That's it. I don't like people who feel like they're entitled to anything of mine, especially if you haven't earned it. You haven't been around me. You haven't shown me that you'll have my best interest. You literally just say, I'm attracted to you, and now I want you to give all of me, and I'm not that person. So what happens is I end up snapping on these people because they'll be like, oh, so where you at right now? I'm trying to come through. And I'll be like, first of all, nigga, I'm at home. You need to ask me to come through. Like, I'm always checking niggas on entitlement. Like, oh, what you buy me? Nigga, I didn't buy you shit. Why would I buy you anything? And what it's doing is making me an asshole. So I'm like, I could afford to be a little nicer. And then I can explain it in a way that doesn't come across so curt and so mean, because I think I'm also repelling people because I'm so bent on not being used up again like I was in the past. So that's a landmine for me that I need to disarm. I need to stop being so, I guess, blunt when it comes to entitled ass niggas. I can explain it in a way that works. Like, just don't come at me entitled. Don't do that. But I could afford to be a little nicer when it comes to that, and not take, I guess, myself so seriously and not take things that are meant to be jokes. There have been times where people have said shit it's supposed to be jokingly, but it's just annoying to me. And then it caused me to be like, nah, I'm gonna shut this down to make you feel stupid. Like, if I make some food, oh, what you cooking us? I hate that shit so much. Oh, I hate that shit. I don't know why it makes me mad. It's so entitled. It's a joke. I get it. It's a joke, but it annoys me. I'm like, I'm not cooking us shit, but I'm making me this. I'll say that, but that makes me an asshole then. I'm being mean. I'm not going with the flow. I could afford to be like, let me disarm this landmine of not wanting to be used and played and deal with entitled niggas and be like, you know what? Play along a little bit. I could afford to go with the flow a little bit more, and that's not necessarily a compromise. It's just, it's just a little more pleasant, I guess. I don't know. But that made me think. So, your turn. What are some landmines that you have? Like, are you stubborn? Are you judgmental? Are you selfish? Are you like, do you have like, do certain things cause you to have a temper? Like, what are landmines of yours that people don't know about? Because ultimately, people don't know that I have issue with being used by people or being pushed over. They don't know that. They're just trying to get to know me, or they're trying to get at me, and then here I am snapping on some shit they said that they probably didn't even mean to say in a mean way. They were probably just joking with me, and then here I am saying, I ain't making you shit. Like, I think just last week I was talking to somebody on Tinder, and they're like, oh, what are you doing? And I was just like, oh, I just finished grocery shopping. And they were like, oh, what you buy me? And I was just like, nothing at all. Now, once again, they were joking, and I knew they were joking, but it's like, let me just stop. But me and my mind are thinking, let me just stop you now before you start thinking that I'm going to be that type of guy that's just out here buying you shit. But at the same time, if I were in a relationship and I really cared about somebody, I would be the guy who would be out there buying them shit from the grocery store and doing things, because I am a giving person. But I think by me having that particular landmine, it's causing me to repel people, make them think that I'm just this asshole all around. I'm not giving, I'm not compromising, I'm not this. But that's because I'm protecting myself. So I need to be better at protecting myself. Maybe I need to just stick to the guns and instead of the landmines, because it's not fair to have people, strangers, walk on this land and just blow up because they didn't know that was an issue. I hope that makes sense. So, what are some of your landmines? What are some things that you have hidden that people don't know about that you're blowing up on them about? Like, this is real shit, though. I feel like this could be a very good self-discovery thing for the listeners, especially for me. Think about your landmines, y'all. Think about it. Think about some things that people don't even know are triggers for you, and they don't know until they hit them. And figure out how you can flesh them out. Figure out how you can work on them and get to a place where you can communicate what's actually bothering you in a way that is pleasant. And then you can actually have more deeper, meaningful friendships with people and relationships, because it is unfair. It's very unfair. It's unfair of me to pop off on people for things they don't even know about. I could go about it in a different way. I can definitely not use my past pain to project rudeness and pain onto other people. So it's time to disarm the landmines. All right, that's the show. Make sure you guys are following on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Share your favorite quotes using the hashtag #TheOutlinePodcast. Make sure you put THE in there. The Outline Podcast. Favorite quote. Share on your page and tag me. Share on your Facebook. Like the Facebook page, The Outline Podcast with Kevin Dwayne. I appreciate your support. Rate it on Apple Podcasts. Leave your comments on KevinDwayne.com or SoundCloud. That's where I see them. And I hope you guys have an amazing week. Talk to you guys next time. Peace out.